Hi, Ed Merrison from CellarHand here with Sandra de Pury from Yeringberg on a lovely spring day here in the Yarra Valley. We're here among the Cabernet Franc vines on this famed hill, a component of one of Australia's great red blends. Tell us about the Yeringberg Red. Is that how you call it? Do you just call it the Yeringberg?
We just call it the Yeringberg. Sometimes we abbreviate it to the Yberg.
Right.
So it's a blend from this vineyard. It's a blend of Cab Sav, Cab Franc, Merlot, Malbec and Petit Verdot, and they're all growing here in this patchwork old vineyard.
Yeah, so we're on a northeast-ish facing slope here?
Northeast face, yeah, just above the Yarra River floodplains.
Yeah, gorgeous aspects actually, lovely views of the valley all around us from the hill here. And so this blend then, you said it started life perhaps as probably just Cabernet and Merlot, then Malbec, and then all five.
Yes, so originally it was planted, the Cab Sav, the Merlot and the Malbec were planted in the late 60s and 70s, and I think the first few vintages were just called Cabernets. And then we added the Cab Franc and the Petit Verdot and decided just to call it Yeringberg. And that's how it remains.
That's his history. So Cabernet Sauvignon still would lead the blend in it.
Yeah, so usually the blend would be about 60 to 65% Cab Sav, around 15 each of Merlot and Cab Franc, and then between 5 and 10 of Malbec and Petit Verdot.
Yeah.
That's just reflecting really how the vineyard's planted.
And I know that we always think of it as being, such a high stakes wine because it's the statement really from the red wine stable of the vintage. But you say that blending it it comes together because it is a vineyard wine. You could call it the same wine from the same vines every year.
Yeah, that's right. And so essentially we pick each variety separately. We sort them in the vineyard and again at the sorting table. And then once it's in the winery, that's part of the blend. We don't do any blending trials on the wine per se. So that each year it just reflects what those vines produced in that year from that vineyard.
Yeah, which is one of the things I love about it, because you couldn't get a more accurate reflection, I guess, of what the vineyard does. So Cabernet Sauvignon obviously requires no introduction, but from your point of view, what's it doing in the blend? What are the things that it gives you as a winemaker?
So the Cab Sav is the backbone of it, I guess, and it gives all that beautiful cassis fruit and lovely tannic structure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the two kind of hallmarks of the Cab Sav. The Cab Franc brings in a real perfume, especially, we're very careful to get that perfectly right, the Cab Franc, otherwise it can be a bit weedy. The Merlot brings in a plush, plummy mid-palate. When it's perfectly ripe, it really sings in the blend. The Malbec brings in a juiciness, and it's an important part of the blend, even though it's very minor. And the Petit Verdot, always, again, it's perfumed, but it has amazing acidity. And so even in a hot year, it will come in and just have great natural acidity and help to balance the blend out.
And then, as we say, it's, the reflection not just of the vineyard, but also the vineyard in a specific vintage. But I assume that there's something that you go back and you have quite a library of the wines. As it's such a historic place. I know it's in some ways it is a museum. But is there something that you would say is always what you're looking for that wine to say as a blend? What are the hallmarks of the Yeringberg?
So it's always a wine that's elegant, I guess is probably the best term to use. So it's balanced and elegant. It has power. It's usually 13.5 to 14% alcohol. So it's not a lightweight wine, but it's not at all heavy and over dominant in oak and overripe flavours. It often will have a tiny touch of leafiness on the Cabernet, but yet not be a green wine. But balanced, and it's a wine for food. It's a wine that will go really well with a meal, either now or in 20 years' time.
Yeah, I think one thing that always strikes me, looking at it among its peers, obviously Australia does have plenty of very, very fine examples of Cabernet Sauvignon based wines. But one thing I think that really shines with the Yeringberg, and I think especially in recent years, is that of course, the oak that is there in support, but it feels like such a wine of fruit. Like it really looks like, it's laid there on a platter, these lovely fruit spectrum, and as you say, lovely ripeness to it, but elegance, but so transparent in a way. I don't know whether that's the way it feels for you. Just to step back and just show the fruit of the vineyard in this.
Well, I mean, essentially, I guess that's one of the main things about wine. It's got to reflect the fruit where it came from. But the fruit, I guess the vines are old. I mean, this wine sees 2 years in 40% brand new oak, but it doesn't present as being oaky at all. It just combines seamlessly in to support the fruit.
Yeah, and it really sings with that primary, lets that primary charm show at a very young age, but of course, plenty of years in those wines as well as they evolve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll keep for a very long time.
Yeah.
At the moment, we looked at the 1988 recently, and it's just looking beautiful as a very old wine.
And again, we were talking about the 2018, because that's in a really nice slot, still a young wine, but looking really good at the moment. How was 2018 for this blend?
2018 to me sort of sat between 17 and 19. It was a much rounder, more fruit-driven year than either of those 2 years. It gives the appearance of having a bit less tannin. It doesn't really, but which makes it really approachable now as a young wine.
Lovely, good one to drink over the Christmas period, I reckon. That one.
Absolutely.
Right in the slot. Okay, thanks, Sandra. Good speaking to you.
Thanks, Ed.